another nail in my coffin.
Hey everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood Uncle P here with my series Nails in a Coffin, the one where we learn that with great kills there must also come great nails. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you're new here, real quick, what I do on my Nails in a Coffin series is I perform a kill analysis on the on-screen kills in horror movies, rating how well a person responds to their life-threatening situation. A victim can get one nail in a coffin if they make a lot of dumb decisions, like the ones where you're yelling at the screen, like, why don't you turn the lights on? Why don't you run outside? Why don't you do something other than just standing there? They make a lot of dumb decisions. They're going to get one nail in a coffin. However, a victim can get up to 4 nails in a coffin if they make a lot of smart decisions. They sacrifice themselves to save others. They just don't stand there. So the smarter a person is, they're going to get more nails. And we always know more nails are always better. So this week, I'm covering 2014's The Town That Dreaded Sundown on my Nails in a Coffin series. Last week, I covered The Town That Dreaded Sundown that came out in 1976. Now, that film had an average nails in a coffin of 1.5 nails. Now, granted, there were only 3 on-screen kills in that movie, so take that for what it's worth. This one is like a pseudo-sequel reboot. It's kind of confusing, I guess. It does have more on-screen kills than the original, so let's get started, and I think it's going to be time to nail The Town That Dreaded Sundown 2014. This movie begins same way as the original, with narration discussing the events of the Texarkana Moonlight Murders from 1946. The narration continues talking about how in 1976 a movie was made about those murders. So there's more of a meta aspect to this film, stating that every year on Halloween, The Town That Dreaded Sundown 1976 is shown in movie theaters in the Texarkana area. And the opening narration states that the events in this film occurred in Texarkana in 2013, thus trying to keep with the true nature aspect of the original film. Corey and his girlfriend Jamie are at the drive-in watching 1976's The Town That Dreaded Sundown. She's not really into the movie, and they leave the drive-in to go find somewhere to park. They're parked, and after some talking, they start to canoodle a little bit. Jamie then sees a man with a sack over his head watching, and she tells Corey, hey, there's a man watching us, and they lock the doors. Corey just thinks it's some peeping Tom. She's a little freaked out, and she convinces, hey, it's time to leave. When they try and leave, the Phantom Killer shows up, breaks the passenger window, points a gun at them, and tells them to get out of the car. He's holding them at gunpoint. He tells Corey, hey, take your pants down and lay on the ground. He tells Jamie to turn around and not look no matter what. The Phantom Killer gets on top of Corey's back, and he starts stabbing him multiple times in the back. Jamie does turn around, and she's just frantic. She's distraught. She takes off running, with the Phantom Killer following her now. He eventually catches up to her because it's a movie, and he gets on top of her and says, hey, this is for Mary. Make them remember. We then see Jamie walking back to the drive-in, where she collapses on the grass right underneath the drive-in screen, and all the drive-in patrons call the ambulance and the cops to come help her. Over the next few weeks, we see Jamie trying to cope with everything that's happened to her. She does live with her grandmother because her parents were killed in a car accident when she was a child. She's seen a psychiatrist, but she really doesn't want to go on medication. You know, she just kind of wants to deal with this as she sees fit. It's been 3 weeks since the attack on Jamie, and we see Daniel, a Marine, return home to see his girlfriend, Kendra. They quickly go to the motel room, where they, of course, make friends with each other. After the deed is done, she says, hey, can you go to the vending machine and get me some cookies? He gets up, grabs his wallet, goes to the vending machine. A few minutes later, she hears something outside. When she looks out the window, there's the Phantom Killer holding Daniel's decapitated head, and he uses the head to break through the window. Kendra immediately screams, runs, grabs her shirt, locks herself in the bathroom. The Phantom Killer's trying to break in. She breaks the window, jumps out of the window, compounding fracture in her leg. She's limping to her car. She gets in, tries to start it. It's not going to start because movie. Phantom Killer catches up to her, opens the car door, gets inside the car, and stabs her to death. Daniel's killed off screen, so I can't give him a nail rating. Kendra, however, she earned herself 3 nails in the coffin. It was nice to finally see a victim do all the things that someone should probably do. She ran, she locked herself in the bathroom, she was screaming for help. She knew he could break into the bathroom, so she breaks the window, jumps out of at least a 2-story window, and even with the compound fracture in her leg, she didn't stop moving or screaming for help. Most movies, they would just crumble on the floor and scream, but no, she dragged herself to the car to try and get it started. I'm pretty sure the the Phantom Killer disabled the car. I just didn't see anything that she did that I would call stupid. She did the right things, but she was just outmatched by this killer. So for me, this is a solid 3 nails in the coffin. It's 3 weeks later, and a candlelight vigil is held to honor Corey, Corporal Daniel Torrance, and his girlfriend Kendra. Shortly after Jamie shows up to this candlelight vigil, a man appears dressed like the Phantom Killer. He's got a sack over his head and has a knife in his hand. A Marine who was standing post drew his weapon, shot the man to death, and the Marine was put in handcuffs. And then word gets out throughout the town that they believe the Phantom Killer has been stopped. Spoiler alert, yeah, that really wasn't him. We later found out that the man the Marine shot was not the actual Phantom Killer. It was Paul Mason, who was a suicidal teenager. Now, in my Nails in a Coffin series, I choose not to give a victim any nails and rate them if they unalived themselves. That wasn't really a sacrifice to save others. Moving on, after a dinner event, band members Johnny and Roy drive to a secluded sign graveyard so they can experiment with each other. While they're talking, the Phantom Killer shows up. Roy goes to drive away, and Johnny jumps out of the car and takes off running. Before Roy can drive away, the Phantom Killer hits him in the head with something, causing him to crash. Johnny is also running, but the Phantom Killer catches him and knocks him out and then just beats him viciously. We then cut to Roy tied to a pole, and the Phantom Killer is behind him. He mimics the trombone kill from the original with a knife attached to the end of the trombone slide. But before he stabs Roy, we see Johnny, who's all beat up and bloody, crawling on the ground. Roy sees him and calls out to him. Then the Phantom Killer just shoots Johnny dead. He then uses a knife at the end of the trombone slide to stab Roy to death. First up is Johnny, and I think he did fairly well. I'm going to give him 2 nails in a coffin. He took off running, but he jumped out of the car before Roy could even drive away. And he started to run through all the signage instead of running back the way he came or running in a straight line, till you have to maneuver, which I think is a typical horror movie trope when people are running away from something. They never really run in a straight line anywhere. But at least he had the self-preservation to take off running and not wait to run like we also see in slashers. And we learn later on in the movie how the Phantom Killer caught up with him so fast. So taking all that into consideration, he did try and get away, and we did see him only get knocked out and then shot. He was beaten pretty bad. Yeah, but I just can't see giving him anything less than 2 nails in a coffin. I'm also going to give his friend Roy 2 nails in a coffin. He drove away as fast as he could when the Phantom Killer showed up. Unfortunately, he was smacked in the back of the head with the pipe as he was backing up the car, getting himself knocked out. When he came to, he was already tied up. There was really just nothing I saw that he really could have done. And I didn't see him or Johnny make any stupid decisions that led to their deaths. They were pretty much in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the way the kill was set up, they were pretty much going to be dead no matter what. So I'm confident giving them both a fair 2 nails in a coffin. Our next kill is Deputy Tillman. He visits a local bar and talks with one of the working girls, I'm assuming. He tells her he's already arrested someone that night, so she smiles at him, and then we cut to the deputy in his living room, sitting in his chair, and he's enjoying his company. And right as he's about to open his eyes, he's shot in the eye by the Phantom Killer. As soon as this happened, the young woman, Ardell, realizes something is wrong, and when she sees what happened to the deputy, she turns, sees the Phantom Killer, break the door down, and take a shot at her. She's able to run outside, but he shoots at her, hitting in the leg, I believe. She's then crawling through this wheat field with him in close pursuit. She's doing a good job at avoiding him till she crawls into a scarecrow and screams, thus giving away her position. He then finds her and stabs her to death. Deputy Tillman, I'm going to give him 2 nails in a coffin. He wasn't on duty investigating a crime or anything. Granted, he wasn't the best deputy, that's for sure. But I didn't see him do anything stupid that led to him actually getting killed. Just because he was doing what he was doing, I can't say that was a stupid decision in a life-threatening situation. As soon as he opened his eyes, he was shot. He probably never had time to even contemplate doing anything, and it was too late. So I'm going to give him 2 nails in a coffin. Ardell, she earned herself 2.5 nails in a coffin. Now this kill follows very closely to the final kill in the final attempted kill, I should say, in the original. She ran as soon as she saw danger, and I think he clipped her in the leg before she ran out into this field. She was doing well staying down, low to the ground, and avoiding the killer. She was in shock and she was injured, but she was keeping her cool and kept quiet till she ran into the scarecrow and screamed. And I feel like she's doing great up until on her way up to 3 nails in a coffin, But she made that fatal mistake at the end, so I think 2.5 nails like a fair rating for Miss Ardell. Getting close to the end of the movie, Jamie decides to leave town with her grandmother. They're going to move to California where Jamie's going to attend college. While they're stopped at a gas station, Jamie's inside and the grandmother's out by the car. Jamie's paying for her items and she hears some gunshots. She runs outside, sees an old man who was pumping gas dead on the ground from gunshot wound. She goes over to her grandmother who's standing outside the car. She was shot in the neck and she dies in Jamie's arms. Jamie's with the grandmother. The store clerk goes outside and he's immediately shot and killed as well. Jamie then runs to hide on the other side of the car, taking cover. Okay, we got 3 kills to get to real quick. The old man who was pumping gas. I'm going to give him 2 nails in a coffin. We didn't see him get shot, but you can guess that he never knew what happened. There wasn't much he could have done. He probably didn't even know he was shot till it was too late. And in my series, if you've been watching for a while, you know if a victim gets killed without even really knowing what hit them, like a surprise kill from behind or like this, shot from a distance, I go down the middle and give them 2 nails in a coffin since there wasn't much they could have done either way. And the same pretty much is going to go for Lillian, Jamie's grandmother, 2 nails in a coffin. We didn't see her get shot, but you can pretty much deduce she didn't have time really to do anything, just like with the old man. She heard gunshots, she was shot in the neck, and we didn't see if her or the old man were shot first. Now, granted, these kills weren't technically on screen, but using basic reasoning, giving them both 2 nails in a coffin seems pretty fair. I'm imagining neither one of them pretty much had a chance really to do anything. And then we get the gas station clerk. He's also going to get 2 nails in a coffin. All we saw of his death was him running outside to help the other victims, but he paid the price for that with his life. I do like how he ignored the danger of the gunshots to go help others, and then he was shot for it. Some people may argue that was a stupid thing to do, I should say, running into gunfire, but I think he was selfless in that moment. So weighing both options back and forth, I'm going to have to go down the middle again and give this young man 2 nails in the coffin. Jamie's able to grab her purse and makes a run for it. She runs to the metro train station that's locked up as she gets inside. She avoids a phantom killer while they're inside the train station. She runs out of the train station and she's running across some train tracks where she trips and finds the dismembered body of her boyfriend, Nick. He was killed off screen. Jamie is running through the woods, still being chased. Phantom killer shoots her with an arrow to the leg and to the shoulder, I believe. Before she goes down, she sees a second phantom killer. We get their identity reveals. One of them is Deputy Forrester. He's the grandson of the original Phantom Killer's last victim. The other Phantom Killer is Corey, who we thought was killed at the beginning of the movie, but he wasn't. It was all a ruse, and this is why I never gave Corey any nails. We found out the convoluted reasoning for these two murdering all these people. It's dumb. I don't like it. When Corey is expositing to Jamie, Deputy Forrester shoots him in the head, killing him. The deputy is then on top of Jamie, giving a typical villain monologue, and it just gives Jamie time to pick up a gun, shoot the deputy, getting him off of her, and she then stands over him, shoots him a second time, killing him. I'm going to give the final 2 kills in this movie, Corey and Deputy Forrester, 1 nail in the coffin apiece. Their reasoning was nonsense, and they both fell into the trap of pointless villain monologue, which just wastes time, and it gives the protagonist time to kill them first. I did like this movie up until the ending. I just think it was a bad way to end the movie. Giving away the Phantom Killer's identity, which totally craps on the whole, mystique of the Phantom Killer and just the reasons for the killing. It used to be like we didn't know, and now we know. The twist of having 2 killers, it really just crapped on the original idea of this movie. So Corey and Deputy Forrester, since they really didn't really have any valid reasoning other than just to be famous or some dumb shit, I'm going to give both of them 1 nail in the coffin. Movie ends with Jamie attending college in California. She's walking outside the building at night after class, and we see a figure's shadow slowly stalking, alluding that there may be another Phantom Killer or that Deputy Foster survived. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my Nails in a Coffin 4 of the Town That Dreaded Sundown 2014. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. Here's the average nails in a coffin for the Town That Dreaded Sundown 1976 and the Town That Dreaded Sundown 2014. 2014 had a much higher average, probably one of the higher averages I've had since I've been covering films on Nails in a Coffin. And I saw a lot of victims make more smart decisions, or they really didn't have a chance. I didn't see too many of the typical tropes of victims making dumb decisions in this movie, and I made sure I wanted to be fair with it, and I think this is a pretty accurate rating for this movie, even though I really didn't care for the ending. That was a big misstep in my opinion. This was a weird movie because it was a remake slash sequel. It had a lot of the same beats as the original, the way people were killed. They even brought in a Texas Ranger, the Lone Wolf Morales, which is the exact same name as the Ranger they brought in the original. But it was a meta aspect, since in this movie they were showing the 1976 movie, but a lot of it played out really similar with the kills. And I also think they dropped the ball with the ending of this movie. It was good up until the ending. The Phantom Killer's identity should have remained a mystery, since that's what occurred in real life in 1946 and in the movie that came out in 1976. Also, having two killers as a twist was a bad idea. The movie was pretty solid up until maybe the last 15 minutes, and it really kind of dropped the ball. I'm really not clear what they were really kind of going with here. But that wraps it up. I'll see you here next week when I start covering another very popular horror franchise with about 9 movies in it, number 10 on the way, and that's going to take us all the way to Halloween. So I'm getting excited because Halloween is closely approaching us. If you have any guesses to what that franchise is, put a comment down below, but I may have said it in a previous video. Those films are going to be a challenge and fun to cover on Nails in the Coffin. Take care of yourselves, everybody. Stay safe and be good to each other. I am your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and remember that with great kills, there must always come great nails.